So thank you guys for joining us tonight. I am Christopher Franklin. I am CEO and co-founder of Harmony Village 100. And we're going to share some exciting news with you this evening. I don't know what part of the world you're tuning in from, so good morning or good afternoon, or maybe it's even good night or good evening. But to you all, I see you all are forward thinkers. I see you guys are actually the movers and the shakers of your community, because you actually took the initiative to join us tonight. And only movers and shakers really take this kind of initiative. So I want to congratulate you guys. We are going to have a fantastic conference for you tonight. I mean, we're going to tell you some things that you probably never knew. And then we are going to give you an opportunity that you have never been presented with. And quite frankly, I don't think you will ever be presented with this opportunity again, with this type of opportunity. So, like I said, I'm Christopher Franklin, Harmony Village 100. So I'm going to begin to share my screen and let you guys know what we're all about here tonight. Okay. So can everyone see my screen fine? Okay, good. So once again, Harmony Village 100. So our motto, as you guys can see, is helping to usher in Africa's green revolution. And for anyone who may not know what a green revolution is, I'll explain to you guys quickly. A green revolution is involving agriculture, and it's when a developing country begins to increase their yields by adding mechanisms to their farming operations, such as tractors, irrigation systems, different forms of fertilizers and pesticides and things of that nature. So once a developing country comes from the basic subsistence farming with all of the field hands doing all of the manual labor to a more mechanized operation, that is what we call the green revolution. And with what comes with the green revolution is more bountiful harvest, more nutritious harvest, and it allows a country to feed their growing populations, because as we know, all of the populations are continually growing, and we need more food to support this growth. So that's our motto, to help Africa, usher Africa into the green revolution, because it is one of the last places in the world who have yet to experience the green revolution. So I'm going to carry on, tell you guys a little bit about myself and my co-founder, which is my brother, David Franklin. So we have been in business as partners for over 20 years now. So we come from a family of 10, and it's 5 boys and 5 girls. And I'm just letting someone in here. So we come, like I said, we come from a family of 10, 5 boys and 5 girls, David and I, and we are the closest. We are actually in the middle. We're 2 years apart. So naturally, David and I gravitated towards each other as we became adults in our business life. So we have had dry cleaners together. We have had landscaping companies. We have had nightclubs with liquor licenses. And right now, we also are in the real estate industry back in the United States, in Detroit. We own many properties in Detroit. But all of these businesses together combined, we use them as stepping stones, so to speak, to get to Harmony Village 100. So David and I, we are passionate about coming back to Africa and working with the farmers and the casual workers and businesses here on the continent. We are passionate about that because we want to give back. And in giving back, we can also reap great rewards as well. So one thing, a quick story to tell, our journey started about 3 years ago when my brother David, he was looking for different business opportunities on the continent of Africa. And he came upon Rwanda. And he did a lot of research on Rwanda prior to coming here in 2020. So he came here in 2020. It was during COVID for a couple of investment opportunities. So he was kind of a skeptic. So he did invest, but he invested on a smaller level to see how everything panned out. So what happened, he came back and he told me about his investments. And I myself, I was a skeptic myself. So I was the skeptic. He showed me his contracts and things like that. And upon me looking over these contracts, I never told him, but I always had it in my head like, man, this almost sounds too good to be true. But I didn't want to look like I was looking down on his operation. So I never expressed that to him. So it came a point in time where he was paid as agreed. And he came to me, Chris, you know, I got my first check, you know, from my investments in Africa. So I'm looking, I'm like, oh man, congratulations. In the back of my mind, I'm still thinking, oh, wow, you know, I think my brother has stumbled onto something here, you know. So a few months rolled past, came to me again, hey, I got another check. So at this point in time, that's when my interest was piqued. So I took a heavier dive into looking into what he was doing. And I said, look, I'm going to go back with you next time, and I'm going to see if I can get involved. So like I said, this was during COVID in 2020. Country was on lockdown. You had to be back in your hotel room or Airbnb or wherever you were staying at the time by 6 p.m. So it was kind of hectic, but we made it happen. So anyway, this we wanted to share with our friends and families. This was an opportunity of a lifetime. I'm talking returns that you'll never see. So this is where Harmony Village 100 was born, because David and I were passionate about helping our friends and family and bringing our communities up and leaving a legacy for our family and stuff as well. So we're very passionate about that. But one other thing is that we wanted a business that we could help the 95% of the lower level people in the States. So we started this in the United States because that's where we're based from. From Detroit, Michigan is where we're born. Harmony Village 100 headquarters is located in Farmington Hills, Michigan. So we wanted to help the 95% of the population, the working class, be able to find different investments more than just 5%, 10%. This is all we can get in the US, in the West in general, is 5 or 10%. And Harmony Village 100 was just the vehicle to do that. So I'm going to proceed here. So we, in all of our endeavors, we noticed problems. So some of the main problems that we see on the state side is that people not knowing what to invest in. You know, it's the working class people typically don't know what to invest in. They don't know when to invest in it. And the third problem is just they don't have the skill set to invest. So, and when I'm talking about not having the skill set, I am speaking of in general. I'm sure there's many of you that are watching here tonight who have the skill set, but in general, people do not have the skill set to actually invest. So people do not have that skill set that's required to invest. So when you look at the stock market, you have the ticker going across, you have the up arrows, the down arrows, you have the candlesticks. And when most people, and speaking generally, when most people see this, they get kind of, you know, clammy hands. They don't know how to react. They just don't know how to respond. So those are problems that we've seen. You don't know what to invest in, how to invest, and when to invest. Now, on the Africa side, they lack the resources in their farming capacities. And when I say lack the resources, I mean most of the farming that is done right now, I think it's almost 80% that's done right now in Africa is subsistence farming. And what subsistence farming is when a farmer, he just plants enough seeds and cultivates enough land to feed his family, because he lacks the resources. He just has enough food to keep his family living. That is what's called subsistence farming. So in my next few slides, I will show you how we're going to marry these problems together with Harmony Village and create the solution and give you guys the opportunity that I'm sure you're here to hear about tonight. So in Africa, the second problem, they lack the skill set and the equipment to farm effectively. So that's where Harmony Village comes in. With our injection of capital into the economy, now they can afford to get the equipment that's necessary. They can afford to get the training that they need to become better farmers. So that's our whole thing with helping to usher Africa into the Green Revolution. And then another problem we see in the African agriculture industry is exploitation. Exploitation of the farmers, exploitation of the workers. And when I say exploitation, what I mean is offering minimal prices for products and paying minimal prices for workers. So I'll give you for instance, if I were a farmer and I had my raw goods of garlic and someone said to me, okay, Christopher, I want to buy some garlic from you. And I say, okay, I'll sell you we'll just say a sack, just to keep it simple. I'll sell you a sack of garlic for say $50. But now you in turn take this sack of garlic, take it to your processing facility and turns it into $500 worth of product. So I don't really like to call it exploitation, because if a person is selling their product for a certain price and I'm buying it, it's hard to call that exploitation. But then again, the farmers in Africa, they need this money badly. So when the offer is presented to them to purchase, they take the first thing that comes at them because it's so many farmers and it's just a whole vicious cycle. So that's one of the problems. And as far as the casual workers being exploited, that is being paid like $1 a day or something like that to work the farms. So when Harmony Village comes in, we remedy some of these problems. Okay, so I'll show you the solutions we have. So, okay, a solution to not knowing what to invest in, Harmony Village 100 is the solution. We have been here on the ground in Africa now for the past 3 years. So we know where the market is. We know who has the market. We know what commodities are in demand, and we are setting ourselves up now to become the authority as it relates to agricultural investing in Africa and that bridge back to the West. We have long arms here. We've made friends in the right places, all of the connects. So Harmony Village 100 is setting ourselves up to become the authority as it relates to agriculture investing. So we know when to invest, how to invest, and with us, you need zero investor skill set, zero, okay? So another solution on the African side, when we're infusing capital into these companies and into these farmers, now they are able to get the training that we talk so much about. And when I say training, it is so imperative that training is gotten here. And I'll give you a story to more explain what I'm talking about. I don't know if any one of you is familiar with crop rotation. And what crop rotation is, it's a simple procedure where you go and plant a certain crop for one season, you rotate that crop out, plant another crop the next season, or you can intermingle the crops in the same season. And the reason for this is because some plants take certain nutrients out of the soil and other plants replenish the nutrients back into the soil. So let's just say if I plant corn one season, that corn is sucking the nitrogen from the soil. So the next season you plant corn again, then your harvest will be diminished. And if you do this over and over and over, pretty soon you have no corn because it won't grow, because it's taking those nutrients that it needs so desperately for growth out of the soil. Whereas when you do the crop rotation, the other crop, say if you plant beans the next season after the corn, the beans infuses nitrogen into the soil. So it's a delicate balance. But when it comes down to training, you will be surprised. A lot of farmers here do not know these simple practices because the money is just not there to get training. So that's a big thing with us. When we infuse capital into these different businesses, to these different farmers, we are motivating them and giving them, empowering them to get that training that's so necessary. And then a solution that we have is we minimize that worker exploitation because, like I said, we are setting ourselves up to be the authority. We are making large investments here, and we require that no company exploit workers. And we have certain protocols in place right now to guarantee that this doesn't happen. Okay, so I'm going to share with you guys our original timeline. So our original timeline, when we first started this, so I'll back up a little bit. We started on a personal level during COVID in 2020, gained all the necessary skills, know-how, and everything of that nature to make this thing go through Harmony Village, make it go mainstream. So we started Harmony Village only May of 2022, so just under a year. So this is the guidelines that we set for ourselves, and how we came up with these guidelines is we had gauged the traction that we were having at certain intervals. And we said that by the end of December 2022, which was last year, that we would have put $1 million into the African agricultural market. And by the end of this year, we would have 2 million into the African agriculture market. And then by the end of 2024, our goal is 10 million. So I can tell you, we met the first goal in September of 2022 of $1 million, which was 3 months, a full 3 months ahead of what we had projected. And our second goal, we project to have met by the end of this year, and we've already crushed it. So here it is, 11 months into it, well, not about 9 or 10 months into this endeavor, and we have already crushed our goal for the end of 2023. So we have big plans for that fourth goal for the end of 2024. Okay, so many of you may have a question on how do we know what companies to invest in? So we have a rigorous vetting process, and this is how our vetting process works. So what we do, we make preliminary contact with these companies. So normally we would like to go to the governmental offices where they have lists of companies who are already above board, because you have to have certain documents already in place to even get on these governmental lists. But as of lately, we have not really had to go there much, because our website, we have added a portal to it to where any businesses or any landowners, any farmers who has a business set up, they can go directly to our website and they can fill out our questionnaire and they can submit it. And we get a lot of leads that way. Once we get those leads through our website and through the government agencies, that's when we begin to go through them. We begin to scrutinize everything. And if they make it past that step, then we will invite them to do a virtual pitch to us. And if they make it to the second stage for a virtual pitch, all of the board of directors must be present for this pitch, no absences, and then they'll pitch to us. If at that point we like what we hear, everything sounds sustainable, sounds like it has a nice profit potential, then they would advance on to the third step, which is a field trip to their facilities. So the purpose of our field trip to their facilities is to see if what they said in that virtual pitch was true. So we go to their facilities, we look all around, we look at their assets, we go out to their land, and we see if this is actually a viable, functioning business like they claim. And if that, at that point, if they are successful, we move on to the last stage, which is document submission. So during this document submission, we have a long list of documents that is required for them to submit to us. And this list is a little bit intrusive or invasive in their privacy, but it is required so that we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this business is 100% above board and productive. So there are some companies who bow out at this point because the documentation that we have, that we require, they just either don't have it or they aren't willing to submit it. It was actually a couple companies that told us the information that we were requesting shouldn't be requested. It's of a personal nature, so they bowed out. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. You know, if you don't have the documentation to submit to us so that we can verify its authenticity and do our due diligence, then you are excluded from any advancement. But if you do have all the documentation that we request, at that point, then we move to funding. Okay. So we're going to go into the opportunity now. Okay, so we have 3 packages. The first package is a 1.5-year partnership. And with this partnership, there is a 40% total return over a year and a half. Yeah, 40%. You just don't hear that. That is, and I'm going to explain to you guys how we can offer such returns. 40% total return, which equals out to about a 26.6 APR. A lot of people like to talk in APR, about a 26.6% APR. Okay, and we have a $1,000 minimum with no maximum. Okay, so our second plan, we have a 2.5-year plan where you get 100% total return. You double your money in 2.5 years, which is 30 months. And that is also a 40% APR. This is unheard of. In the West, all we can ever hope to get is 10%. If you're doing like phenomenally well, you'll get 12%, you know? So if you can get 100% over 2.5 years, which is a 40% APR, it's unheard of. Next, our third package is a 3.5-year partnership where you get 175% total return. And this is a 50% APR. And if you guys, we can just break down how the payment structures would go. I'm sorry, I'm going to back up here. So for that 1.5-year partnership, you would get your first payment of 70% after 12 months, and you would get another 70% payment 6 months thereafter. So if we keep the numbers round, $1,000 invested, after 12 months, you will receive $700. 6 months thereafter, you will receive an additional $700 with this 1.5-year plan. The 2.5-year plan, you will get 2 payments as well. 1 payment after 24 months, which is 2 years, exactly in the amount that you invested. 6 months thereafter, you will receive another payment of the same amount that you invested. So if it's 1,000 or 100,000, 100,000, you would get 100,000 after 24 months, another 100,000 6 months thereafter. And finally, our third plan, we already talked about 175% total return, 50% APR, and you would get 175% return after 36 months, which is 3 years, and an additional 100% of your investment return 6 months thereafter. So to break that down, $100,000 invested or $1,000 invested, after 36 months, you will receive $175,000. 6 months thereafter, you will receive $100,000, which was your original investment. Now, we're going to talk about everybody's parents that I know always told them if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Well, I'm going to show you actually how we can make this happen. Okay, so we'll look here. So the cost to grow crops, I'm so sorry here. Okay, we'll say the cost to grow crops per acre. So we'll say John is the investor. John pays $800. But he goes to the landowner pays nothing. The landowner has the land, John has the money. So we can see where the money was spent at. 100 in cultivation, seeds, 200 in maintenance, and then another 100 in harvesting and packaging, logistics, taxes, like that. So in the United States, here's the max capital gains mentality. Okay, you have John put in 800, the farmer put in absolutely nothing. They returned John his 12% profit, so he got a $896 return, and the landowner got $1,504 for doing absolutely nothing. And as you can see, this slice of this pie that's green, that's John's payout, and that's the payout in the US. So now I want to have you to look at this next slide here. Okay, so the same scenario. John's initial investment is 800. Landowner's investment is nothing. The money is allocated in the exact same fashion. But now if you notice, John has returned his 800 for his original investment. And then whatever the farmer made, which was $1,600 or $1,600, he split it with John. So in Africa, what we noticed is that they do profit sharing. So it's not all about taking all of the money and giving you your pennies back, your 10% or 6% or what have you. It's about profit sharing. Whatever the money spent by John produced, we are going to share these profits. So it's just a mentality that's here that is different than back home in the West. They do not have the mentality here, the max capital gains mentality that we're so used to. So now you look at the pie chart here, and now you can see where John's profit is in the green. You see in the gray, that's his money back. So this is a fair pie here. This is a fair pie, something that we aren't used to. Okay, so we'll move along. Now, look at the payout in the US on the left and the payout in Africa on the right. Significant difference. So this is how we can pay the returns that we can pay. Okay, and not only this is only one way that makes it possible. The second way that makes it possible is that we do business in Eastern Africa. So the East African community, it basically consists of Rwanda, Burundi, Kenya, Tanzania, the DRC, the whole Eastern African community. And if you know anything about geography, you will know that the East African community lies very near to the equator. So we have very consistent temperatures, and that allows us to have 3 seasons minimum per year. Whereas back home, where we're from, it's 1 season. It's one and done. You plant your seeds in the springtime, you harvest them in the fall, and then here comes the snow and the frost. It's over. Here, you have 3 seasons minimum. So you have season A, B, and C. So if I give money to a business or a farmer, and they are going to give me say a 20% return, I'll get 20% after 4 months. I will get 20% after another 4 months, and I will get 20% after the last 4 months, which effectively gave me a 60% return on my investment. So if you look back at our 3.5-year partnership where we offer 175% total return, if I get 60% in year 1, 60% in year 2, 60% in year 3, that's 180%. And then we have another half a year. Well, I will get another 30%. So I would get effectively 210% return on whatever money you invested, whatever money I invested. So at that point, I could return back to you that 175% returns that we show. And it's I won't say it's a no-brainer. It's been hard work for us. You know, we put in all the work, we made all the contacts, and we're making it happen right now. So this is the reason why we can do exactly what we say we can do. Okay, so we've made the process very simple to get started. I'm talking, you don't get much simpler. I'm going to show you. So this is our website. This is the home page of our website. So if you look at the menu bar in the center, you'll see a partnerships tab. If you go to our website, harmonyvillage100.com, you hover over that partnership tab, you will see the 1, 2, and 3.5 year packages that we offer. Click on whichever one you're interested in, and it'll take you to our partnership page, which I have on here, a 3.5 year obligation. You will see this. You'll scroll down on that page. You will fill out all of the information that is asking you for. You'll scroll down further. You'll hit sign up. At that point, we will be notified and we will begin processing your package. Okay, and also on the website, under the 3 different partnership packages, you'll see this simulation calculator to where you can simulate whatever you're willing to and whatever you want to invest, whether it be 1,000, whether it be 1,000,000. You can go on here, you can simulate it, and it'll tell you exact returns that you could expect. Okay, so I'm going to meet the team here. I'm once again Christopher Franklin. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Harmony Village 100. We have next my brother David Franklin. He's the Chief Operations Officer. Next to him, we have Joseph Biziarimri, and you'll hear from all of these guys. They're on the line now. And last but definitely not least, we have Isaac Alabi. He is our UK to Europe ambassador. So I'm going to hand the floor over for a couple minutes to my brother David. He may want to say something. Okay, one moment, David. There.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. My name is David Franklin, Chief Operations Officer. Historically, agriculture is a low-risk, high-reward investment. I just want to let you guys know that everyone has to eat. And also, Africa has 70% of the world's arable farmland. So it's a win-win also in Africa. Pass the floor to Joseph.
Okay, Joseph.
Hello everyone. I'm Joseph Biziarimri. I'm investment strategist of Harmony Village 100. What I can say that in Africa, we have a lot of opportunities that you cannot find anywhere. And those opportunities, they need people like you to invest in. And by investing in our company, just you are in safe hand. You're gonna get your return on time, because this is what we are doing to make sure that you're gonna be paid. So come and join us. This is what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Isaac, how are you?
Very well, brother Christopher. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Thank you.
Good.
You have the floor there.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Isaac Alabi, and I'm the UK Europe ambassador for Harmony Village 100. I've been in contact with Chris and David now for the last, it's been over 12 months. We've been back and forth, bouncing ideas before I decided to invest and partner with the company. And one of the main reasons for me was the transparency on how they were doing business. And as you know, some people have not invested or pulled the trigger investing in Africa because it can be a bit of a minefield. It can be, there's a lot of unknowns. And I've been doing business in Africa myself successfully and with some challenges in Africa, but it hasn't put me off because I know the potential of what can be done. And it's not just the potential of what can be done, it's also the changes that we have been able to make as well, while giving people some incredible returns. And in addition to that, I'm just happy to be working with a team or partner with a team that's making changes in East Africa, and we're starting to grow our wings out to different parts of Africa I wasn't expecting in such a short space of time. And just a final point was what also brought me is together with Christopher and David was their values on working with like-minded people from the diaspora, and that's the diaspora in anywhere, if you're outside of Africa, outside of Asia, outside of South America, wherever it is. And the business model is incredibly sustainable, and it has been streamlined to make it even more efficient.
Okay, so just to sum it up, you know, me, David, the whole team, we believe in giving 100% of ourselves. And we, like I talked about earlier on, we started this thing with our friends and our family because we are passionate about that. We are passionate about closing the wealth gap that exists. We know the top 1% of people own all the wealth as it relates to not only the United States, but in the world. So we want to close that wealth gap. And I just urge everybody to look at our website, look at our different packages, and just think, because you will never see another opportunity like this. I can promise you that no one is going to come here and hold everybody's hands, make this bridge, and offer you something this tremendous. I mean, we didn't stumble onto it. We actually studied into it. But right now, we're making it happen. We're paying out these returns, and I see a whole different future for us, our families, our legacies. So I ask everyone to just consider, right after this meeting, right after this Q&A, going to the website and just looking around. You know, you can do your due diligence into us and the company, whether it be Google, social media, any of that, and take a serious, hard look at this thing, because it's here, it's sustainable, and this is something that is going to create legacies and change families. So I urge you guys to come aboard and join us. And if you have any questions, go ahead, fire away. We're ready for you.
Okay, Christopher, I've had a couple questions come through. So
okay.
I'll read out the first one here. Does the process inadvertently admit some of the smaller farmers who need or who are in need of harmony services?
Okay, I didn't understand that question.
I'll read it again. So I think it was in regards to when you were talking about some of the smaller scale farmers that we've assisted and partnered with.
Okay.
Does that mean that some of the other smaller ones get admitted?
Yes, so we do admit smaller farmers, but the only thing that we require is that they have a business set up and they are actively cultivating and producing and selling to the market. So we would not admit someone, obviously, who's just farming in the back of their property and wants funding and wants to join us as partners, because first off, they wouldn't be able to produce all of the documentation that we require. But if they're legal and they're set up in the country which we're doing business in, and they can provide all of the documentation, then they're definitely eligible for funding.
If I could just jump in, that was a question from me. If I could, Isaac, if I can restate it, if you don't mind.
Sure, no problem.
Sure.
Thank you. I actually was saying, are some of them inadvertently omitted, right? Because I love your process that you have, because it does have the rigor and the due diligence. But are some of the growers, when I think about what I heard you present as the original purpose, does it accidentally, right, leave out some? And if it does, right, and I think it does based on what you just explained, then do you guys, have you guys thought about an extension where you provide help to those, kind of like, you know, if there's a nonprofit in the town I live in, and if you're a small business and you don't have that paperwork, they have a SBA program that you can go through to help you write that business plan and get your things in order so that you can then go to and get funding. So do you guys have any type of assistance to help farmers get ready to come into your stream?
Okay, at this time, we do not, but that is definitely something that we have thought about and that we have looked into. And I will give you an example. We had a couple of farmers come to our website and apply for funding, and they did not meet the criteria. But since we do social impact opportunities, we put them on the side of our social impact so that at such time we can get them up to speed, or we can make donations, or we can do something in our power to help those. So I wouldn't say that they are totally omitted, but yeah, if they don't have the documentation, then they would be effectively out. But like I said, we're trying other avenues. And as we grow, we definitely will create a lane to where we can help farmers like that, because that is our whole goal, to uplift the continent in general, if that answers your question.
It does. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I've got another question. Can you explain on the reinvestment if the contract remains as the same once they've reinvested? I think this is in regards to when someone has receives their first payout. Is that do they have to take out another contract?
Yes, they would have to take out another contract. So when they receive the first payout, either they could say, pay me and I'll reinvest, or they could say, don't pay me and I want to go to a different package. So, and we have investors right now with 3 different packages. So it does not matter how many different contracts you get. You can have a 2-year, 3-year, 1 year. So yeah, it does not matter.
Okay, thank you for that. This is another question that's come through. How would you classify your company and team? Are you guys more like a social impact company or an investment profit orientated one? That's one question. And the second part to that, second question that came through, based on my understanding, you want to attract customers and cash flow from the US or international market in general. Can you briefly talk about your strategy for branding and exposure, marketing and sales? So the first one was just asking, clarify your company and team. Are you guys more a social impact company or an investment profit orientated one?
Okay, so we are an investment profit oriented company, but we also do social impact activities as well, as you'll see from our YouTube feed and things like that, you know. So we feel like if we're in a community taking so much from it, we obviously need to give back a lot to it. So an investment company, yes, but a social impact company as well. What was the other part to that question?
Based on my understanding, you want to attract customers and cash flow from the US or international market in general. Can you briefly talk about your strategy for branding and exposure?
Okay, so yes, that is the case here. We are looking to garner support from the West, mainly from the United States and the UK, but anywhere in the world. And as far as our strategy for branding, we have been on a hard push to get our name out here. Like I said, we have reached out to the different government agencies here on the ground in Rwanda. We've got our name plastered across several of our partners' buildings, lands, and things of that nature. So that is one way. And then we're doing a hard push on social media. We just want to get the word out so more people can take advantage of this. Okay.
Okay, another direct message come through. I also want to learn about your current funding conditions. Are you guys backed by VCs or angels? If so, what stage are you in now? Pre-seed, seed, or do the team and friends privately fund the company?
So just the team and anyone who comes in just funds the company. So we aren't backed by any angel investors or anything like that. Just our personal funds. And this is how we started. So as I stated earlier, we are real estate investors and we have many properties in the city of Detroit. And David and I liquidated several of our properties just to invest in African agriculture. So between David and I and friends and family and people abroad, that's how we're funded.
Guys, if any of your questions are not being answered properly, please feel free to just drop me a private message. I can read them out privately for you as well. We've got a question on when and how is a company audited?
Okay, you said when and how is the company audited?
Yeah.
So right now, we only do internal audits, and internal audits are paid from an outside vendor. So they'll come in and audit us. We've only had one audit thus far. We are, I'm going to admit someone back in here. So we've only done one audit, and it was an internal audit so far. Because like I said, we've only been in business since last May. So we're a relatively young company right now. So the audits have not come up yet.
I think this person may have missed that the first part. Just to confirm, is this a African company, or where is the company's head office?
Yes, the company's head office is in Farmington Hills, Michigan. So this is a company from America, from the United States.
And I think, I'm not sure. Yeah, thank you. One other question that's come through, sorry, not even a question, it's just for me to, if you could quickly touch on the social impact projects that you, that we, the whole team have carried out. I don't know if David wants to speak on that, or if you want to cover that specifically.
Yeah, you can, David, you can speak on that one, the social impact, if you can tell them about some of the things that we've done here on the ground in Africa.
Yeah, some of the things that we've done on the floor in Africa. Right now, we sponsor 3 schools where we buy the kids uniforms. We also provide funds for lunch. And we also bought a whole village of kids shoes, I'm sorry. So yes, we do a few things. And right now we have a few things in the making as far as sports events that we haven't acted on just yet, but those are in the making.
Thank you, David. Another question that's come through: Are there plans to add in regular audits annually or biannually? Will the results be made public, or at a minimum to those invested in HV100?
Great question. Yes, so we do plan on having biannual audits, and yes, like so now what we do is we have the quarterly reports that are mandated. And we also issue a company newsletter from time to time. We started out every month, but then after we got after we gained traction, we scaled back to once every couple months, because I know as an investor myself, and I've invested in several companies, you don't normally hear anything except from the quarterly report, you know. So we are different in that way. We like to keep the lines of communications open. So this is why we started with the monthly or bi-monthly newsletter, because we like to keep that line of communication open. I mean, it's nothing like investing your money somewhere and then you just hear crickets. So, I mean, that is something that we're totally against. We have an open door policy and we always welcome the questions. So yeah, a once a year audit, and it will be made public to anyone that's invested with us.
Thank you, Christopher. Just wanted to know, what's the makeup of the team? What does the team consist of? I think we talked about the some of the key, but we still got other members of the staff who do different operations, if you want to cover that, Christopher.
Okay, so if I understood that question correctly, it's talking about the different members of the team and their positions?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be myself, Christopher Franklin, the CEO. That will be David, which is my brother. Now he is the COO. And why David is taking this lead role is because, and this is a big thing that I left out of this presentation accidentally, David has actually moved here to Africa. So it was our original intent to perform the business from home, from Farmington Hills, Michigan, and extend the opportunity to friends and family. But as the thing grew, and this really became a force, so we needed someone here on the ground, boots on the ground, to actually check on these companies' day-to-day operations, walk in, you know, open some doors, talk to people, make sure things are moving, because it went from personal investments to a huge investment vehicle. So we needed someone here, and he always had a passion for moving to Africa anyway, so it made perfect sense. David is the Chief Operations Officer. Joseph Viziaremni, he's on the line. He's our investment strategist. So Joseph is here in Rwanda, so he has that familiarity. He's been here all his life, born and raised here. So he knows a lot of the things that we can't possibly know. things about the culture, you know, the climate. He knows where to go, who to talk to. He knows the language perfectly. So we had to bring Joseph on the team just for those different things. And the language barriers, it could be pretty tough. So that's Joseph. He's the investment strategist. And then we have yourself, Isaac. So Isaac joined the team with us from the UK. Now, Isaac, you are you're originally from Nigeria. So
Yeah.
you can you speak to your role here with the company, Isaac?
Yeah, sure. So as some of you may already know, I was born in Nigeria, but grew up in the UK, and that's where most of my friends and family are based. But I've been doing business in Africa for the last 2.5, coming up to 3 years now. Well, I started many years ago, but that was just more of a just getting my feet wet, checking things out. So once I was doing some business in Tanzania, I came across Christopher and David. Took an interest because what I was trying to execute in Tanzania, they had executed to absolute T. It was perfect. And so we got talking back and forth, just keeping in contact, watching their progress and what they were doing. And for me, it was what was really refreshing was, like I said previously, was the transparency on how they're doing it. And as you know, a lot of people outside of Africa, we sometimes are a bit hesitant to do business in Africa because there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of fear. And myself going through some of those challenges, was able to understand how and why they were doing the business, how they're doing. And Rwanda is a very zero tolerance country when it comes to doing business in general. So it was a perfect fit. And for me, I wanted to share my expertise, my connection. I've worked in local government for over 20 years. So my reputation was important, and most of my friends and family trust me. And so bringing people who want to invest in Harmony HV100 for me was important to make sure that I had a lot of key points ticked, and the transparency was there, the legalities were there as well. So I was very comfortable to start bringing people in, and we've been doing, there's a lot of work going on in the backgrounds, and that some of the stuff we can't even really go into now because we are still in high level discussions. But the brand is going to be going very, very big and very global. We're not just going to be having conversations with people in Africa. It's a lot bigger than, I'm sure Christopher and David know, and I'm sure one of the questions that had come in directly from a previous session we had was, what would you do if someone comes in with a large offer to take over? What does that mean for the investors? And I think it's important that you both speak on that, because there's not far-fetched from happening with the way the traction of what's been happening over the last 2 weeks. The conversations we've had over the last 2 weeks have been phenomenal. So I think it's important that you both speak on that, to either put some people at ease or just to give them the kind of direction of how you and what you guys think as well.
Sure. So really fast, I'm just going to finish up that last question. So we have another videographer. His name is Alex. And then we have an administrative assistant. Her name is Kelly. So they do work for us also full-time in the background, getting our image branded and stuff like that. So so to the next question, yeah, we have thought about that. We have not been presented with anything, but obviously it would be a conversation that would have to be had, but we don't think that we would say sell out, so to speak, because if someone wanted to come in and take us over, their mission would not be such that ours is to uplift the community and close the wealth gap. It would probably be a mission of that max capital gains mentality that we talked about. But let's play devil's advocate, so to speak, and say if we had to, then obviously if anyone had a contract with HV100, that contract would have to be filled and paid from the original terms. So if you came aboard on day one with $100,000, on a 3.5-year partnership, where in 3.5 years, you were expecting $275,000, and someone came aboard 10 days after you came on and did a buyout or something, then you could expect to have $275,000 paid to you 10 days after you started, period. Any partners that are under us right now, that would happen if something like this were to manifest. So was it a second part to that question, Isaac?
No, that was it. I've got a few more questions that have come through.
Okay.
And this one's for David. Can you speak a little more about your initial visit to Africa and what made you see the opportunity?
Sure. Like Chris said, me and Chris have been business partners for over 20 years. And we applied for a loan and we got denied. You know, we couldn't understand it because we spent like 2 weeks gathering up all our house info and just all our finance info, getting it to the bank. And we were sure that we were going to get approved because we have several homes, and we got denied, you know. So once I got denied, you know, it kind of broke my heart and I got discouraged. So I kind of said in my mind, like, man, we have to do something different. So I just started doing research just into the next big business opportunities, and agriculture just kept coming up. And I wasn't even necessarily looking at Africa, but agriculture in Africa was running hand in hand during my research. So I'm like, man, I have to get over here to Africa and see what's going on. So my next step, I just started investigating such as ease of doing business, countries as far as corruption, leadership, infrastructure, you know, just looking at those categories. And during my research, doing those categories, Rwanda was always consistently at the top of that list, 1, 2, or 3. And I just flew to Rwanda, linked up with a few businesses that were advertising on social media pages such as Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, met with them, toured their facilities, looked at their contracts, made small investments. They paid again, and here we are today.
Thank you very much, David. Right, so I'm just going to go back through this few more questions that have come through. Sorry, one moment. Can you talk about how customers' partners are legally protected? How do people who participated make sure they will get back the aforementioned returns?
Okay, I'm glad you guys asked this question, because this too is something else that I failed to mention, is that we carry an insurance policy. So as you know, here in Rwanda it's very hilly, and here in Rwanda, where we do the 95% of our business now, it was spread out over Tanzania and Uganda, but now we are centralizing it right here, because we have found that this place is the least corrupt, and the government has zero tolerance. So we carry an insurance policy that cover us for everything except war, riot, and flood. So if we talk about war, this is, and anyone can Google it, Rwanda, where 95% of our business is done, is the #1 safest country on the continent of Africa. So I think we can pretty much rule out war or riot. And then flood. It does not protect against flood. So let's talk about that for a moment. So Rwanda is called the country of 1,000 hills. So it's very hilly terrain. So we only flood here mainly in the valleys where we're doing business at, because if you could imagine, the water will run down off of the crops to the lower lying regions. And then we don't just invest in one specific spot. We have investments over the whole country, from the eastern province to the north to Kigali City. So if we were to have a rain event where we wouldn't be covered, it would be localized with one of our partners' farms, which at that point, it would not impact anyone. So we're covered through insurance. And not only are we covered with our own insurance policies, all of our partner companies have their independent, separate insurance policies that covers them. And insurance is very easy to get here in Rwanda because nothing ever happens. You know, you won't get anything like locusts or mites or mold. I won't say you won't, because obviously that's what the insurance is there for, but the insurance rates are very minimal per hectare. So it's very affordable for that reason. There's minimal events that happens here.
Thank you, Christopher. I'm just gonna, there's another question in regards to that that's come on, and I will get back to the other questions that's come through.
Okay.
What makes you so confident that investors will see a return on their investment as you've described? Because the company's only been up and running for 1 year.
Well, I am so confident because David and I have been making personal investments for the last 3 years, and we have yet to have one investment defect. So, and we've been, like I said, we've been up and running out to the public for less than 1 year, but we've been in this thing for 3 years. And that's one of the reasons that we waited so long, because since we started off with friends and family, there's no way in the world that we were going to bring anybody into a burning building with us. We wanted to experience everything first before we offered this thing up, because we have a sterling reputation for excellence. And like I said, we are not going to have anybody come into something that we don't wholeheartedly know and trust.
Thank you, Christopher. And then
Yes.
another question that's come through. And just someone was saying, Celine was saying she agrees with David in regards to the research in Rwanda on anti-corruption. A lot of people were seeing the same results. Aside from funding, can Harmony Village provide mentoring program and partnerships with small farms?
Yes, absolutely. We're actually working with a company right now who is going to do just that. They're going to provide mentorship, and they're going to partner directly with us. We actually had a meeting with them today. They're going to partner directly with us, and we're going to structure some type of curriculum for the youth. Because David, do you know, I think it's the average age here in Rwanda is 22, I believe. So the population is a young population. So the government have a lot of incentive programs for young people to get them started into agriculture, mainly because we have a population here that's growing, and we need to get this green revolution up to start to be able to produce enough to feed the public. So yes, that is something that is in the works now, and we expect it to actually roll out around September sometime. We're excited about it. We're going to be doing a lot of videos and a lot of social impact to let people see what we're working on here on the ground.
Sure. And also, we don't just partner. We don't just invest with these companies. We demand 3 to 4 year partnerships with these companies. So what that means is anytime we want, we can open up their books. We're walking into these factories, seeing their operations. So, and like I'm here, I'm living here permanently. So I'm walking in and out these businesses constantly, seeing everything. So we're boots on the ground.
So David, I think you just made a very good point, and I think it's important that people understand the level of access. And just if you can a little bit more detail on that, on how much access we have to these facilities, and not just to the facilities, to the staff as well. Because what the protocols that Joseph, Christopher, and David have put in place is essential, and it's key that you just give a little bit more details on the level of access, please.
Yes, so we have actually gained an equity stake in several companies here. So we are not only investors at this point, we are owners. So our main branch is still investment, but we have gotten an equity stake, because when these companies come to our website and they fill out the portion where they're applying for funding, they state right there whether they're looking for debt or they're looking for equity. And if you are looking for an equity partner and your company is profitable, is sustainable, and it's working above board and doing everything by the rules of law, then we have no problem with an equity share in the company, which we have done several times now. So yeah, and just to speak to what you said, Isaac, regarding our level of access, that is required of any contract that we sign. We must be able to access the facility any hours of operation, total access, no closed doors. We have the option to talk to any workers, whether it be in the factories or whether it be in the field. We have to have this access. So we have, over the last, I would say 4 months, we have begun to rewrite all of the contracts. You know, at first we were kind of abiding by the contracts that we got, but once we got with our attorneys and our accountants, we begin to rewrite the contracts, and then we give them back to our partner companies to look over and make sure they approve of them. Because obviously English is no one's first language here. So a lot of the contracts were kind of hard to discern what was going on. It was a lot of ambiguous language. So now we take those contracts, we rewrite them. Since English is our first language, we know how they should read, we know what we should get out of them, and everything should be clear and concise with no ambiguity whatsoever. And this is something that's required. So all of the contracts are written by us now. And we had got a little pushback at first when we started doing this, but these companies, they need the funding very bad. So ultimately, if you're looking for funding, and this is something that we propose to do, you ultimately have to go ahead and do it. We're not changing the terms or anything. We're just changing how the documents read.
Thank you, Christopher. Another question
Yes.
that came through is the investment focused on natural seed farming, or does it include GMO farming?
So it's just natural seed farming here. So, and that's one of the downsides to the green revolution. So once the green revolution is ushered in and the production goes up, that's when the GMOs start coming into play and the different chemicals. So it's kind of, you have to take the good with the bad, because if you have an increasing population, then you have to start using the fertilizers if you expect to have the more bountiful harvest. You have to use the pesticides to keep the pest off the plants. So right now, everything is all organic, simply because they don't have access to the chemicals and the GMOs and stuff like that. But I'm sure once they turn that corner to the green revolution, then that's when we'll experience the GMOs and the different things that give us adverse effects.
Thank you, Christopher. A question's come from someone. I'm from Nigeria. We have a farm fully registered with authority. We own a good portion of land, and we're hoping to start operation this farming season. How can HV100 come in, please?
Okay, so thanks for your question. So you could go to our website, and it's a apply tab. When you apply for funding, it'll ask you, I think, 27 questions, and then we can gauge where your company is coming from. We can gauge your business model, and you can even give us a call, because we are not dealing in Nigeria right now, but we are not opposed to it. We are open to hear it all. And if it makes sense, then it's something that we could potentially move forward on. So I would encourage you to go to our website and apply for funding.
Thank you, Christopher. I think that was the last question.
Okay.
If there's any more questions from anyone.
So if there's nothing else, I just want to encourage you all. Africa right now is like, we are like pioneers. This is the very beginning of something big. Like I said, there's mostly subsistence farming happening right now. So we are the first here, so to speak. Obviously not the first, but we are here at the beginning, and we already know what happens with early adopters. Early adopters are the ones who stand to reap all the benefits. And I say that not in a selfish way, because as much as we will benefit, we will also give back. So it'll be a mutual beneficial relationship between Harmony Village 100 and Africa. We have a question, it looks like, from Darius.
One moment, yep.
Thank you.
Yes, go on, Darius, sorry.
Yeah, my name is Darius. I'm from Rwanda, and I was so lucky to meet with one of your teammates, Joseph. And I would like to ask you, do you guys only invest in agriculture businesses, or you can invest in other businesses as well? Thank you.
Well, currently, we're only investing in agriculture businesses, but going forward, once we gain a little more traction, then we will be branching out into other investment opportunities. But right now, we have gotten the agriculture side figured out, and we are full steam ahead because this is what we know, this is what we do. So right now, we won't venture outside of that, but we won't rule that out for the future. And that's kind of why we did a competition. I don't know if anyone has been following us. We did a competition that just ended on March the 15th, where we were awarding the winner with a $50,000 partnership with Harmony Village 100. And this was specifically for businesses that were not necessarily agriculture businesses. And what happens with that is, since it ended, everyone came in, they applied. We are currently right now looking through all the paperwork, and we've whittled it down to the last 10 finalists, and we have to whittle that down to the last 3 finalists. So that was kind of a way for us to get involved with sectors outside of agriculture. So we're going to be finding a winner and 2 runners up for that competition within the next couple of months. So that's the only way outside of agriculture at this time.
Darius, does that answer your question? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. So another question's come through. How much funding have you raised so far? What is your AUM, which is asset under management?
We are just over $2 million right now, actually like $2.3 million since May of 2022.
Thank you.
Still small, but we're growing quickly.
Rapidly, very, 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 very quickly. Any last questions from anyone? I will put our website in the chat. You can either reach out to us via email, my email's in there, or you can go to the website and fill in one of our partnership forms. If you want to schedule a call to discuss further, feel free to reach out to anyone in the team. Thank you all for the great questions. Been some brilliant questions, and it's been very, very, very interesting insight from people with different opinions as well.
Sure. Okay. Okay, thank you guys all for showing up for us.